Hey, it's Sam here, welcome back to the channel. Today's another workout, a leg day, but it's going to be a little bit different to most of the workout videos. In that this is another one that I'm doing for the series. It's going to be suitable for beginners, so if you're a bit newer to the gym, definitely stay with this one because it's going to be something more approachable, something you can do on your own, something with less heavy weights. If you're looking for something more hardcore, just check out one of my other videos, all the chest days, back days, that sort of thing recently. But I'll explain why I've ended up in this situation as well, because it's a little bit about what I'm doing with my own workouts, because this is one of my genuine workouts as well as being part of this beginner series that I'm building. Basically, nearly 2 weeks ago, I badly injured the big toe of my last foot because I was a little bit absent-minded and using a gym that I don't normally go to down at Legends. And the weight forks that the iron plates are left on are slightly shorter there, and while I wasn't concentrating I didn't have proper grip of it as I pulled it off, sort of subconsciously thinking the fork was a bit longer. I've ended up dropping a 20 kilo iron weight straight down on my left toe, and thankfully it doesn't seem broken. It's healing up really nicely, so I'm very grateful for that. But what I am doing is being a little bit cautious with my workouts, and I'm not going so far afield so regularly so I can rest up the foot when necessary. But when it comes to the leg workouts, I'm not going to do anything that's going to be putting pressure or pressing weight, carrying load through the foot, because that'll include all of that big toe and second big toe, which is still a bit of a mess and recovering, not 100% there yet. So I'm going to do this workout all with isolation exercises. Now, if you're here for the bodybuilding and you've got some experience, I will have to admit that this kind of a leg workout's not really going to be what you're looking for. You're going to be looking more at hardcore exercises like barbell back squats, leg presses heavy, hack squats, split squats, all of the things that I'm ruling out by training in this fashion. But a routine of just isolation exercises based on leg curls and leg extensions that I'm going to show today is still better than nothing. It's going to keep my legs active. It's going to allow increased blood flow through those muscles so that even though they're not getting trained to the maximum, that's delivering all of the nutrients that they need more effectively, and just keeping them active and keeping me well in my whole system. So that's why I'm doing it, but it's also going to be useful if you're not ready to be bearing heavy weights on your own and squatting and that kind of thing and newer to the gym. So that's the whole situation here. I'm going to get into the zone, see where I can find space as it's quite busy, and get started. Now I'm starting today with the leg extension machine, and it's going to be largely leg extensions on the quads and then leg curls of two different types focusing on the hamstrings. Now, if you haven't used this before, just be very careful that you've got the back of the setup adjusted so that you're far enough back or far enough forward that your knees are in line with the mechanism of the machine, less slippage that way, and then the pad down here is extended to the right level. It's just going to hook under your feet and not be too far up your shins. So I've got this set up now, and I'm happy with it. So I'm just going to put a little bit more weight on for my proper set here. Right. Set one, here we go. Now that was kind of higher reps, you may have noticed, but that can be a good thing on lower body exercises, as for most people it is thought that they have a slightly higher proportion of slow twitch fibers in the lower body, which are worked a little bit better in the higher rep ranges, so we sometimes do that on legs. This particular leg extension is by Nitram, and I'm reliably informed that that brand name is because the designer of it, these pieces, this brand, is called Martin, and it's just his name backwards, Nitram. So You know, Martin, if you're watching this, bro, we'd have been cool with it if you just put your name, because they're really well built, well designed machines, and you deserve the credit for that, because there's several pieces Nitram in here in zone and that I've used, and they're all great. So cheers, Martin. Let's go for set 2. This, of course, is the main isolation exercise for your quadriceps. The big muscles on the front of your legs. Well, not big in my case, but hopefully getting there. Separate. You know what? With the bodybuilding crowd watching this still, if any of you still are, there are some people that believe in only doing leg extensions for quads, like under this whole belief that all the supporting muscles used and the pressure in there can thicken your waistline. People like Frank Zane were saying, just do this like most days, and that was all of what they're doing for quads. So not something I've tried myself, but if you were concerned about that and legs weren't so priority, it could be worth trying. And last one now. Still doing these sets to failure, but I'm not adding in like forced reps and super partials and drop sets today. I'm going to save that for when the legs are on full and I'm doing all my hack squats and leg presses and all the rest of it. Now moving over to this other leg extension, and you'll see here that I've got the opportunity to work each leg independently. So I'm going to do that as an add-on for quads now. So I've got the option to do each leg independently. I'm actually going to take the opportunity to do them separately and really focus here. So set 1 each side. Sorry, go on, mate. Go on. So, if you hadn't got like both types of machine in your gym, don't worry about it. You just pick the one that you've got. Me doing both of these here today is like partly because I'm limited in what I can do, so I'm just gonna do more stuff. but also to sort of show you what options are out there in case, you know, you see this somewhere, not the other one, or vice versa. So that's what I'm up to here. But because this has been resting the whole time I was doing the right leg, I can go straight into the second set for them both now. So, for overall mass in the quadriceps, it's really still going to be things like the hack squat that I'd recommend, where you're a bit more advanced and you've got everything available. But where these extensions really come into their own for bodybuilding, it's in developing the vastus medialis. That's the kind of teardrop part of the quadriceps on the inner bit, down near the knee on both sides. So in an advanced routine, you probably still include some kind of extension for a few sets, you know. I'll just show you some sets a little closer to my legs here so you can see exactly what's happening. But this particular machine isn't ideally suited to me because the pad is still a little higher up on my leg and isn't adjustable down. It's just adjustable this way, in or out. So it's not my first choice when I'm doing one leg extension, but that doesn't mean that it wouldn't be ideal for you. You just have to play around with these things. And those last reps should be painful. In the muscle, not anywhere else. Anywhere else is kind of a bad sign. And that's quadriceps done for this little workout. We're now going to move on to the hamstrings isolation. So that's where you're curling, you know, flexing in at the knee rather than extending out. And the three main types that you're going to encounter for hamstrings isolation are a lying leg curl, a seated leg curl, and a standing leg curl. I'm going to start on the lying leg curl because that's probably what you're going to find most commonly. Or if you only find one, it's more likely to be this one. So I'm going to prioritise to show you this one. But I particularly like the seated because it locks you in that bit more and really isolates the hamstrings by keeping you stable, and that's all that can move, that knee joint. So it's a bit easier to achieve that on the seated, and that's the main reason I prefer the seated. Start with the lying because it's more likely what you're going to be able to find if you are at a more basic introductory gym than here at Zone, you know. But when you're getting into a machine like this part here is what you want to have a look at first, and you want your knees to be in line with this part here because that's the mechanism, and that's where you're going to have a lack of slippage and more control of the weight keep the tension on the target muscle by staying where you need to be with that. So I'm feeling for the edge of the bench where my knees are and where I know that part is, because I then get myself stable and commence set one now. Show you from the other side. As I say, guys, if you wanted the more, just get on with it, the more advanced workouts, check my other videos. This is just one to help people get into all this stuff, you know. And you wouldn't need to do both of those leg extensions or both of those leg curls if you didn't want to, or you're new to this, or you couldn't find both. Like, if you had one of either, like one leg extension and one type of leg curl, that'd be perfectly adequate for getting started, especially if you're getting started on
see if we can
whole body
demonstrate
workouts by training just once or twice a week, and that was
set
the
3
leg
on the line
section with a more common thing. That would be perfectly adequate. See what we can find available. So I've got a hold of the seated leg curl, seated hamstring curl, and with this exercise, if you haven't done it before, it's going to be another one where you've got to be very careful to set up the parts of the machine correctly, that it's right for your body shape and limb length and that kind of thing. So with this particular one, you have to put the seat back to the right distance that your knees are going to line up with the mechanism, and then adjust the foot pad piece that it's going to be right under your heels and not slipping up the back of your calves. So you're going to have a little play around with that on a baby weight until you get it right before you start the first set. And even if you're experienced or you've done this a couple of times before, you're probably going to have to play around with it in the same way if you encounter the same machine by a different manufacturer and it's a little bit different. So I recommend doing all of that before your first proper set, and then when you've got it handled, and I use this particular one all the time, so I know my thing, you can go straight in with your set. And usually with the seated one, it'll also have a pad that locks down on your knees to keep your legs, your thighs, that is, the upper leg, from riding up when the heels and the calves come up. So you need room to get on top of the pad here. You're going to get that in place, shuffle your butt back, and then push this one down as low as it'll go and lock it in. And you should be perfectly locked for your seated leg curls, which I am now, and I know it. So I've done this before on this machine, and I can do set one. And then lift that up again before you slide your legs out, and that's done. And now you can see from this side, in case any parts of the mechanism I was referring to weren't clear. So all set up already, feet on top of that pad first, and then the knee pad comes down, push it so you're really locked in, and then lock that knee pad in place. And now my second set. and that's enough for me today. I'm getting my legs back on the go, so hope those exercises were clear. I'm going to get my breath back and we'll sit down and have a little chat about these beginner routines and getting started in general for you. So I really enjoyed that, in spite of my little injury recovery and just keeping things ticking over for me and keeping my legs working by doing this. I really enjoyed that, just showing you around some exercises. As I say, if you were more experienced, I'm doing a video every day, so I've got your needs covered as well. So, you know, whatever your needs are, make sure you subscribe. But as I was in there, I quite enjoyed talking to a beginner quite spontaneously as I was filming. Someone I've never met before in here approached me and asked for some advice about leg training. He was asking, you know, what are these isolation pieces for and what are the other leg exercises? And I was just explaining to him that usually in a leg setup, when you really get going, it's kind of the compound exercises and the heavier stuff generally that you do first. So that would be the multi-joint movements where your hips are moving as well as the knee flexion. And that would be your squats, your leg presses, your pendulum squats, your hack squats, your split squats, deadlifts even are great for legs. And then it's usually the exercises like I've shown today, where one joint moves, that we call an isolation exercise, and just move one muscle primarily within the muscle group. So in this case, quadriceps or hamstrings, the front of the leg or the back of the leg respectively. And that's where those little pieces like leg extensions and leg curls come in, because the guy I was speaking to, he was doing just leg curls and was in that sort of area of the gym and was kind of wondering about the setup and when you do what. So I was just taking the time to explain that, and I thought it would be helpful content for this video aimed at the beginners when I've just met a real life beginner who's full of enthusiasm and wondering what to progress to next. And that sort of makes me think, what is the path from here? If you were training legs for the first couple of weeks doing a workout like this, the next thing you might approach would be a leg press as a compound movement. And then when you've got more confidence, you might be using something like a barbell squat, maybe with supervision on the first time you use a barbell squat, but that would be like a routine. And in terms of your training split, if you were just doing 2 or 3 exercises from what I've shown today, it could work really well in a whole body workout. And in my personal journey, that's how I began. I actually started quite by chance with the weight training because my parents just gave me a membership to the gym in a leisure centre, and because I didn't know anything about training, I just went along and I did the induction where they got to kind of tick off for the insurance that you've been shown how to use everything safely. And so the gentleman that worked there, he showed me around every piece of equipment that they've got and how to use it. And I thought that was like a training lesson, not, you know, a tick box exercise that I'd be cynical and old enough to know what I was dealing with nowadays. So I thought this was like a training lesson. So I then went back like every Saturday, and so I had just my weekends off from school, and so I would go every Saturday and every Sunday, and each day I did whole body by doing every piece of equipment in the gym for like 1 or 2 sets. That was my workout, and then I'd go back Sunday without any of those muscles rested and just do it again. And you know, you don't have to be so perfect about these things, because that kind of produced a noticeable result. So as long as you're using things safely and you're gaining knowledge as you go, don't be afraid to just get stuck in, really. Although I would hope that that provides an easier route in to use exercises like that and shown, like I've just shown, how to use them and what they're about. And then moving on from there, yeah, something like a leg press would be a great place to go in terms of legs. And with the training split, you could do whole body, like I just described, and that'd be just part of it. And then my other videos I've covered for beginners, where I've given an example beginner workout for back and then an example workout video for shoulders. You could do all in the same workout if you're going once a week or twice a week, though, if possible. Unlike naive me, you might want to do them on non-consecutive days if you're doing whole body like twice in a week like that. So what I'm going to do is build a playlist and put all of these ones that are beginner examples in, so that they're all in the same place for reference. And we've now covered legs, back and shoulders, and all of that can be done together. So I'll gradually build upon this, and then you maybe have an example of a full body routine that you could get done in maybe an hour, and that's not so much to give once a week if you're just getting your toes wet, trying this kind of thing. And from there, you'll learn more and more exercises until you realise that it can't all be done in one session, and that's when you look onto split routines and maybe consider seeing my video about what all the different splits are about, and when you choose which one, and how the muscle groups are kind of logically put together in a system in various ways in that recent video. So that's how all of that sits, and I hope that my little story there about meeting the beginner and how I got started just proves or gives you an illustration of, you know, we all started at this somehow from nothing, and if it's something you've got an interest in, I hope it provides, you know, some kind of reference point or something more encouraging than just someone who's been training a while, just showing what they're up to nowadays, which is, you know, kind of the content of a lot of my videos. So that's legs, that's beginners, that's routines for beginners. That's enough for today, I think, as I've got a lot more to do, and I've got a lot more to plan for the coming content, because it's going to remain a video every day. I hope the channel continues to grow. If you want to help me, just give me a shout out wherever you post or interact with people online. And you know, there's not much chance left to be in the first 1,000 subscribers, so I'm very excited and very grateful, and I'll be back tomorrow. Cheers.